You're watching iRacing on the Ghostfire Media Network.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the AOLL Cup Series on Ghostfire Media. I'm Josh Laston, and back with me, finally frequently, we have Carl Henderson.
Hey, Josh, I'm happy to be here. I was here a couple weeks ago, and Ben was on vacation going to see the IndyCar race, but I'm glad to be back here. Kind of the birthplace of IndyCar right here. We're at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
And this is going to be a very interesting race. We are actually going to be running 80 laps tonight, and the track temperature it's going to play a huge factor. We're looking at 117 degrees right now.
Yeah, it's crazy for Indianapolis especially, but time of year can change things. But yeah, I think the length of the race and the track temperature and the fact that they're running a custom setup this week, there's a lot of wild cards in this, and I genuinely do not know how it's going to turn out. But I will tell you what, the announcement that the admins made on Friday night on the Ghostfire Media podcast about the 3 bonus points for each win during the regular season, I think you're going to see some guys take some risks tonight if they're going to, they're already in the chase. Like, take some risks. Actually, if they're not in the chase, take some risks, try to get that win to get into the chase. But man, a lot at stake tonight.
Well, and we may as well cover that really quickly. After our conversation with Brandon Bernhardt and Joe Dinsmore Friday, anyone who won a race and was present for half of the season is automatically in. So there are going to be some guys on the bubble tonight, like Carl said, just, you know what? I don't think I'm going to make it on points, so I'm going to go ahead and just fight my darndest to make sure I can try to get a win tonight.
Yeah, you got to go for it. You don't want to ruin anybody else tonight either, but hey, it's crunch time. Go out there and get yourself a win.
Well, and that's exactly it, is right now, these guys, there's no reason not to. As we're seeing, as we see the ticker go by, we have Greg Wellen sitting on provisional pole at this point with a 52.66, which is significantly slower than some of the lap times we were seeing Thursday in practice. But I will say that the track was cooler, and this setup, depending on when you ran it, if the track was cooler, it's tight. But it seems like it's loosening up thanks to, excessive tire temperature. And Indy is not going to be forgiving if you're tight.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I want to call out someone right now because I think you've heard me say many times how much, I've said multiple times how Brandon Bernhardt is an underrated driver. But I want to talk about Mr. William Klingbeil right now because he is currently, I believe, second in qualifying. And so he's been sitting on the outside pole unless something changes here. He's actually running 6th in points right now, which is ahead of Brandon Bernhardt. He's having a very quiet but very good season right now. But that's one of those guys right there. I think, he's solidly in the chase at this point. I think he's probably locked in on points. He might be one of those guys going out there trying to get a win and see if he can get himself some bonus points.
And there's one thing that you can say about Mr. Klingbeil is he's consistent. He's not been out there challenging for wins, but you've also not really seen him have a bad night at any point during this series. And that just, again, he keeps those kind of consistent runs going through the entirety of the chase. He's probably going to be around for that last round.
Yeah, we didn't talk about him. We haven't talked about him much in the Cup Series. Now, he's had some issues in the Truck Series. Back when I was calling that, saw a lot of that too. But I mean, in the Cup Series, he's I don't have to call his name a lot. He's not going to be the type of person that's running right up at the front, but he's also having good, clean finishes for the most part in the Cup Series. So good for William tonight. He's running outside pole. Looks like we got a few guys who haven't qualified,
but they are not going
started.
to apparently.
Yeah.
So that is going to be our qualifying session done. And let's run through where everyone is. Our pole sitter is Greg Wellen. Second is William Klingbeil. Justin Anderson's in third. Joe Dinsmore is fourth. Joshua Hanner makes his return after some family issues, sitting in fifth. Justin Rodden in sixth. Last week's winner, Brandon Bernhardt, is in seventh. Eighth is Brian McFerrin. Ninth, Tony Pandon. 10th, Ed Springer.
And in 11th, we have Timothy St. Jean. 12th is Ross Gage. Andrew Burgess is in 13th. 14th is Derek Schilling. Don Warnke's in 15th. 16th, Jason Swan. 17th is Kevin Pearson. 18th, Kevin Haas. 19th, Mike Burgess. And 20th, we have Nick Adams.
I would just assume that Mr. Adams decided to not put in a time today, but...
Well, I did see him on track. He was on track.
Well, we aren't going to give him that one. We'll be nice. But,
yeah,
no, this is going to be a great one.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really fun race. I honestly, this is one of the ones I'm regretting most, being back up here and not running it. I've always loved running at Indy. Admittedly, I haven't run them in the Cup, running at the Cup cars before, but this is a really fun track. It's one of the few tracks on the circuit that you can actually say is like actually four corners. You have four distinct corners. Fairly symmetrical. I mean, there's some differences between them. Especially like turns 3 and 4 are, still pretty different than 1 and 2 in a lot of ways, but not like you'll see at a lot of tracks. I mean, this is a fairly symmetrical track.
Well, and one of the biggest things that we're going to run into, and I unfortunately didn't take a look at it, is depending on the direction of the wind, you're going to see speed differences between the front and back stretch, and even how the corners are going to go for you.
Yeah, and that's one thing we were talking about, pre-race here, was that, talking about fuel strategy. I mean, the best numbers I saw in solo runs, we were looking at maybe 20-ish laps, which would put us at a 3-stop race. But, of course, the draft can change all of that up. You get in a draft here, you've got these long straightaways, you can conserve some fuel. Additionally, there's a question of, okay, you can extend it out, let's say 25 laps or something. Our tire's going to start becoming an issue. So, could be some pit strategy here. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Well, and as we're exiting 3 right now, I think the biggest thing that we're going to see is the first lap. I'm hoping we don't have chaos, but if there's a lap, it's going to happen. It's while these guys are running close to 200 miles an hour in these cars, and these aren't flat-out turns like you'd see at Daytona or Talladega, as pace car has peeled off, and we are green as Greg Wellen gets a good jump in comparison, and that's going to leave the door open for Justin Anderson to try to sneak his way down below Greg Wellen. And he gets his nose down, but these first few turns aren't really going to be a great indication, because now as they're exiting 2, they're going to be close to full speed as Joshua Hanner tags.
We're expecting.
We have our first yellow flag, as it looks like Josh Hanner, in his first race back in a while, got into William Kleinbill. So let's take a quick look.
Well,
I think that.
Can we take a look at the in-car from Hanner there? See.
Yeah, let's go ahead. See, he ends up getting pushed a little bit low.
Yeah, you know, I don't know where Kleinbill was before that, but I mean, Hanner was definitely much lower than you want to be there, and you know, when he came back up, there was nowhere for him to go. So that's unfortunate there.
Well, let's see if we can get a better angle. Yeah, there really was not room for a car down below, and that collects quite a few people in the field.
Yeah, you really hate seeing that sort of thing. I mean, but you know, fortunately, these guys have faster pairs, so.
So let's take a quick look from the chase camera here, and.
Yeah, you know, if you go further back, I'm watching it from the blimp view, which I think's a pretty good view for this. Although my blimp view seems to be different than your blimp view.
Yeah, it just looks like Mr. Hanner was giving people a little bit of extra space entering 2, caught a little bit of the curb, and that just spells disaster.
You know, honestly, I look at that as a racing incident. Hanner, you know, definitely came in, but he came up on the apron. William Kleinbill came down there, but I mean, he may not have realized that Hanner was down there. So, yeah, you hate seeing that. That's not good to happen this early.
Well, like I said, that first lap is gonna be a doozy, to where until everybody ends up getting single file, that's just it's rough, because again, these guys are at just extreme speeds, and that even what would have been just a little bit of a tap just ultimately kind of cascades into a whole lot of chaos, because that crash ended up taking Tony Pandon, Jason Swan, Derek Schilling, and Joe Dinsmore all out in the same process.
Yeah, I think Brian McFerrin may have been involved in it as well. Possibly Brandon Bernhardt as well. I'm kind of looking at the guys who are pitting, and I mean, a lot of these guys I wouldn't have expected to pit from their positions if they weren't involved in it. But you know, that's what you're saying about not being able to do much to avoid it. I mean, the track's fast and it's relatively flat in the corners. So if you're, you know, the person who starts spinning, there's not much you can do to save it. And if you've got one of the guys behind, it's difficult to change lanes abruptly here and still be able to hold it. So you're just going to get caught up in it.
Well, some of those guys may have just been, again, towards the back of the pack and just did a splash and go, because obviously you're using some fuel sitting on the line. And that ultimately could be the difference for them between a 2-stop and a 3-stop tonight.
Absolutely, but just looking at, you know, people who did pit, I mean, you've got, you know, Joe Dinsmore down 10 positions, Hanner down 10, Tony Pandon down 7, Jason Swan down 1, so he might be one of those guys that pitted because he was back of the field. Brandon Bernhardt down 11, Kleinbill down 17, Andrew Burgess down 7. So, I mean, I feel like those guys may have gotten caught up in it. You know, obviously, I'm going to look at every single one of them. But there's also a chance that someone thought they got caught up in it, and, you know, might as well come down and check.
Yeah, and again, as long as you didn't end up taking tires, using a set of tires, and apparently we have decided to institute the choose rule at this point.
Yes.
And our leader, Greg Wellen, is taking the outside, which, especially given that he's going to be able to dictate the restart, he's actually going to be able to take off significantly faster, get himself single file, and just run away and run his line.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, if I were the leader and we restarted on the green flag, there's no chance I would take the outside. But with him getting to dictate the restart, this is going to be a huge advantage for him at this track, because he'll be able to get out, hopefully in front of Justin Anderson, and then be able to dive down and kind of run a normal line on his first lap.
And unfortunately, Indy is one of those tracks that if we do end up with a caution, these are going to be painfully long.
Yeah, this might be one of those races like New Hampshire a few weeks back where we actually ran out of time. Did get the full race in, I think, because iRacing was very generous. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping this is one of those tracks where if they can just get a few laps in and get good and spread out, I mean, the track's big enough, there's room enough for 20 guys, that, if we can just get good and spread out, we might get some good green flag racing here.
And here's to hoping that that is the situation. We got all of the nerves out on the first lap as we're coming to we're coming to the line. There goes the pace car, so let's see what Greg Welland does. I'd say the right move is to wait as long as you can, but he is off already. He's cleared Justin Anderson to where Justin Anderson can get himself up single file, and he is off, and we're only side by side in a few places, but Greg is just tearing off. He's 3/10 to the good right now. But as we hit the backstretch, Justin Anderson should be able to start catching him using that draft.
Yeah, you would certainly expect that to be the case. But look, don't count out Justin Rodden either. They're running in third. Got a little bit of gap, but you get that draft, you can get a huge run on someone.
And right now, I want to commend guys that we don't normally see running in the top 5. Currently, we have Ross Gage and Timothy St. Jean running 4th and 5th in the opposite order of how I said their names, because that's just how it is today.
Well, and Tim's one of those guys we'll occasionally see running up front, but it's because he's taking a completely different pit strategy than everyone, and he loves doing that. A lot of those guys caught up in incidents there, and good run for these guys right now.
Well, and both of those guys are the old veterans. They've probably been running this track longer than I've been alive. I know that's not true, but I just want to say it.
I mean, it might be true. I'm not going to rule it out.
Unfortunately, racing sims didn't start until well after I was born. Unfortunately, I played one of them myself, and it was only this track. I do love Papyrus's Indy 500. That's the only reason why I love this track. A lot of people hate it. But
well, look, I'm right there with you. I love this track too, and one of the reasons why is I'm looking. I mean, there's a lot of racing happening right now. I'm watching. This is one of the benefits of an early caution, I guess. I'm watching Joe Dinsmore cut through the field right now, and it's been thoroughly entertaining. Hanner's right there behind him.
Yeah, we've got a whole hornet's nest right back here that starts really, I would say, in 7th. As some of these guys that were involved in that early incident are making their way up. And again, these guys, none of these guys are the ones that really need to worry.
3 wide, 3 wide.
We are 3 wide as Joshua Hanner gets tagged a little bit there, but manages to hold on to it. I'm going to move back there because Joshua Hanner and Mike Burgess are side by side. As we're also seeing William Klingbill. We may see 3 wide going on right now. But
for a second, I thought they were going to go 4 wide. It was a little wild, and they thought better of it.
Well, this is one of those tracks that if you trust the person around you, which, I mean, there's very few people that I would trust to try to go 4 wide. There's enough space to do it.
Oh, yeah.
But no one can make a mistake.
Yeah, you have to, I mean, this is one of those tracks, there's a lot of space because of the fact that there's a little bit of, it's difficult in corners, and, trying to hug the line or anything like that, will be difficult, but you know, everybody so far getting through cleanly. Field's kind of spreading out right now. This is exactly what I wanted to see.
Well, and I moved to the very back of the field because we had a little bit of a pack to where they were too wide, too deep at the very back. But I'm going to come up to the front as Justin Anderson and Greg Wellen, they've just slotted in and taken off to where both of these guys are well over a second ahead of third place. And Justin Anderson, I would say he's in the preferred position because he's going to get that draft. He's going to be able to save a little bit of fuel, maybe make this run go just a little bit longer, and potentially only run the two-stopper.
I think running a two-stopper would be really difficult with how big the track is. You know, but who knows? I have no numbers in the draft. But, you know, I have to wonder, you know, again, you know, this is something we've seen happen before, and something I've talked about before. You know, a lot of times, if you have the draft, you're able to slow yourself down a little bit in the corners and then catch it back up on the straights. So you're able to conserve your equipment a little bit better, potentially, if you're able to take it a little bit easier. Oh, we got caution.
Yellow flag is out. Looks like Nick Adams. Brandon Bernhardt went off track, most likely to avoid that, so let's take a quick gander.
Nick got turned, I think.
Oh, Nick got tagged in the rear by Tony Pandon, and that's what caused Brandon Bernhardt to go off, and luckily those were the only two actually involved with contact. And both of those guys are gonna have to use fast repairs right now because those cars at the speed that they are, any change to their aero is gonna be disastrous.
Well, I saw, you know, I don't have in-game chat turned on, but I saw Nick Adams' little chat badge pop up a few times, and I really wish I did have it turned on right now because I'm really curious what he was saying.
There's no denying that he is a bit of a cranky one, and I'm sure it wasn't pleasant.
He's not cranky, he's passionate.
Okay, we'll call it that today. As these guys are catching the pace car, I'm gonna sit here and wait for a minute before throwing to commercial because I have a feeling we're going to see the splash and goes this time around. I don't think it's time for tires because this league does run 65% fuel. But I don't think that it's going to be as detrimental if we do end up, because right there we did have a good long, well, not a long run.
So here's my thing. I think if we stay green from here, which I'm terribly like, if we stay green from here and you pit now, you're still probably going to have to make 3 stops. Now, it might extend you to the next caution or something, so that could potentially be a benefit.
But we do see Justin Anderson, and about half the field is making that decision.
That's not terribly surprising. I mean, I really didn't think Greg was going to do it because you really do not want to give up that restart control. That is something you love to have, you know, because you're able to get a jump and pull away from people, but we did have a lot of people pit here. That's more than half the field. 8th and back is pitted.
Yeah, this is a massive, massive group. As I'm going to use, that's the one I want. To where these guys are coming off, and their pit times aren't really saying that. We've got most everyone. It looks like all they did was maybe take outside tires.
Well, if they even did that, it may have been just fuel. I mean, yeah, I'm not really seeing anybody who would have taken 4, except for the guys further back who potentially, you know, like, well, Justin Rodden may have taken 4.
Jason Swan as well, but he also may have been correcting some damage rather than taking a fast repair.
Yeah, that's one of those things I wish we had, that iRacing would give us that data and let us know what's happening. All we can do is just look at pit times and kind of guess at what's happened. But I mean, I can say pretty confidently that there are, Justin Anderson, Kevin Pearson, Don Warnke, Brian McFerrin, Kevin Haas, Mike Burgess, Ed Springer. They all pitted. There is no way they took 4 tires. They maybe took 2, but there's no chance they took 4 tires with as short as their pit stops were.
Well, and we look, 2 of the guys that were involved in that original incident, we have Josh Hanner and Joe Dinsmore, who have stayed out. Most likely,
Jason Swan got a speeding penalty, so he is going back in. I think that's what happened, because I was looking at his pit lane time, and I was like, well, that's a lot faster than everyone else's.
Well, and the unfortunate thing is, if I remember correctly, you aren't able to serve that under caution. You have to serve that under green.
If it's a stop and go, which, I mean, if he's coming down the pits, if that's the case, that would have to be under green. But, I mean, there's also a chance he's repairing damage or something. I'm honestly not sure.
Curses us not being able to listen in on driver radios.
Yeah, he stopped and came out very quickly, so it didn't look like a penalty hold. So I guess we'll have to see. If he pits again during green, then we'll know it's a penalty. Otherwise, he was doing some unknown magic. Actually, what may have happened there, now that I think about it, because he came out right behind our leader, Justin Anderson, he may have missed his pit stall.
Oh, that's a possibility. There's nothing more painful than dealing with that, but since we are still, and this is one of the positives of Indy, is it's such a big track that once we're under caution, you aren't going to go there's a very small chance, unless your car is completely screwed, that you are going to go a lap down. If you can drive it back, you're going to stay on.
Absolutely. If you're under caution, you're pitting, it would be a very weird pit stop for you to go a lap down.
But as we have entered 3, I'm going to go to the blimp where we can see this field as it heats up. As the pace car is going to peel off, and Greg Welland takes his jump and gets a great one, as Timothy St. Jean is ready to just drop himself back in. And Joe Dinsmore is just flying to get himself back up there, and Joshua Hanner's putting himself in the same position that he had issues with earlier.
Yeah, I mean, look,
this is it.
Yeah, this is the right, they pitted earlier, they stayed out this time, so regaining the track position. So you get Joe Dinsmore running in 3rd, and Hanner, but look, Justin Anderson already up to 5th.
Well, and that is, again, just taking a bit of a splash as we see somebody take a little bit of a bobble. It looks like Don Warnke collects it to keep us green, but we're starting to see quite a few as I'm seeing. That wasn't who I wanted to go to. Josh Hanner is getting it down below Brandon Bernhardt, gets around him, and is now going to try to follow Justin Anderson back up into that top group.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a gap there to make up. I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe Hanner's just being really conservative, but man, look at Joe Dinsmore go. I mean, he is gaining quickly on Timothy St. Jean right now. I think we'll be making a pass here in the next lap.
We'll see, as it looks like Tim had a little bit of a throttle control issue coming out of 3 and into the chute. But Joe is definitely going to get up alongside him with this great draft that he's got. He pops out right at the yard of bricks. Doesn't really have enough time to get the move done at that point. So he's just going to sit and patiently wait, because Joe, again, has been into the pits to where at least he has, I hope, got fuel and didn't just take the fast repair. Because, again, it'll give him an extra 2 laps worth of fuel in comparison to both of the guys in front of him.
He's trying it out again, but still not enough. It's a tough track to pass at, but he might have the opportunity here. Tim went a little high, and Joe gets his nose in there.
As we see Justin Anderson making the same move back behind him, gets the job done, and now Ross Gage is well within the sights of Joshua Hanner as well. But Hanner thinks twice about it, slots in line. And if I was these guys, I would just keep this little three-pack going as long as somebody's not holding the others up. Use those drafts to get each other all the way up, as it looks like Justin Anderson is flying away from them.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think Hanner needs to make this move on Ross Gage really soon. Ross having a great run tonight, can't deny it. Although he made up a lot of time there, but then loose it. I think he might have just that corner a little hot.
Does go low, get himself down below Ross Gage. Ross is going to have the advantage coming out of the turn, but Ross is, if nothing, a gentleman on track, gives him plenty of space, and lives to fight another day. And hopefully he can use Joshua Hanner to help catch this group, as Justin Anderson is now right on Tim St. Jean.
Well, this is a conversation we've had as a team before. I look at Ross Gage right now. He's running 6th position. A top 10 for someone like Ross, I mean, not meant to defend him at all, but that's a good run. And I think a lot of times, like, sure, you should aim for a win, but you should also be realistic about your prospects and have realistic goals. And, I think if you realize that you don't have the speed of a Hanner there, try to fight him for the position, but don't hold him up either.
Well, and I've run, actually, when we ran Sportsman here a few weeks back, as Justin Anderson tags the wall coming out of 4, and that's going to give Josh Hanner the position. That's going to move him up into 4th, and that's just an abnormal error that we would see from Justin Anderson.
When we do see it from Justin, it has traditionally been in this position when he's had some sort of early trouble that was completely unrelated to him, and actually in this case it wasn't early trouble. I guess he pitted early, but it's when he's going through the field and trying to make up ground, and that's, he pushes it. I mean, I think we all do, but that's when you typically see those mistakes out of him.
Well, I wanted to jump back a little bit, as Derek Schilling just made the move on Kevin Pearson, and Kevin does not look like he wants to relinquish the position too easily. And he's going to try to draft up, as we see Derek try to break the draft ever so slightly and continue on his chase to catch Ross Gage. When we ran here a few weeks ago, since none of Closed Circuit likes to run trucks anymore, I decided to jump in with the first response, to where I ran with Ross, Derek, Randy, and I'll be the first to say, and it's showing, Ross is no slouch at this track.
Ross isn't a slouch anywhere, I don't think. Maybe struggles at some tracks more than others. But
Justin Anderson, he's struggling with this car. As he tagged the wall again, and now that's going to get Derek Schilling out in front of him. Derek's given him plenty of room as we are heading down to 1.
Well, one of two things happened here. It's that's a little tight race in there between him and Kevin Pearson. One of two things happened here. Either he's overheated his tires and it's just gotten really slick on him, or when he hit the wall, it caused a little bit of damage.
He'll need to stay in the draft with someone, because it could just be arrowed where he's not getting the same level of downforce, which, I mean, obviously these cars aren't exactly known for. To where he's not getting the turn in, or it's not holding as well in corners. But he just got loose again a little bit, but he should be able to have the move done on Ross Gage. But I want to move back up, as Joshua Hanner got around Timothy St. Jean and is now setting his sights on Joe Dinsmore. And honestly, it looks like second is going to be the best these guys are going to be able to do, as Greg Welland, he's just alone.
He's putting on a clinic right now, isn't he? He's got almost a 2-second lead right now. He's got this thing figured out right now.
He does, but Joshua Hanner is right back up on Joe Dinsmore. And again, neither of these guys are really going to, they don't need to fight for the position. Both of them, as long as Hanner shows up next week in the last race before the chase, both of these guys have their wins. They're in. Points aren't going to matter. Joe's well in with points or the win that he has. Hanner just needs to survive and get his feet back under him as he makes the move around Joe Dinsmore and gets himself moving.
You know, what's funny though is, I spent, I was talking pre-race about, the bonus points and how much those are going to matter for these guys. Greg Welland is someone who, unless I absolutely do not understand the rules, is not going to be in the chase. So if he gets a win, that's basically just taking out potential bonus points from someone else.
Well, and at this point, barring a terrible pit strategy decision, he's 2 seconds clear of second place right now. And I want to jump back because Justin Anderson seems to be holding up a group right now, as there's a hornet's nest brewing right behind him to where we've got 5 cars, and it looks like more are ready to join as Andrew Burgess has the low line going across the stripe. Down below Ross Gage, but Brian McFerrin is right there. Nick Adams is ready to pounce and get himself up. He's in 10th place right now, and despite having an early issue, he's running hard as Ross Gage lost it a little bit there as we see Nick Adams make the move, get down below him on the backstretch, coming into 3. If he can hold his line, he's got that position solidly in possession. As Andrew Burgess tags the wall, that's going to slow him down, and Nick takes the outside line and should be able to get clear of him quite easily on the front stretch, but he's not going anywhere as Justin Anderson is diving into the pits.
Yeah, I think Nick might be angry driving right now. It's really fun to watch. I haven't really seen, don't insult him at all, but this is a very different style of racing I've seen from him before. He's driving very, very clean and making very quick work through the field.
Well, and he's got his work cut out for him to get himself up into 5th. But right now, running 6th place, that is easily the best position he's found himself in the Cup, as we're seeing a little bit more of a battle heating up in the back here, as Andrew Burgess, after that last mistake, as Nick Adams gets turned.
Is he around? Oh!
As the yellow flag is out, he got a little bit of the tip. Let's go ahead and
Nick hit the wall. Nick hit the wall.
I'm pretty positive. Oh yeah, he got the wall and then finished off.
Who was it that hit him?
That was Tony Pandon.
I still don't quite understand getting hit there even if you hit the wall, because Tony also hit the wall, so
let's do this. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, he gets crinkled up a little bit.
Tony just hit the wall, didn't hit it as hard.
Brandon Bernhardt made a great evasive move to miss Nick Adams there.
But this is something, I don't want to take us to another league, but with the Fuel Race a couple weeks back, I tagged the wall and Blake Gordon got into the back of me. I have a hard time faulting him for it because I hit the wall. I mean, like that's it's one thing if you get a little swirly, you get a little loose, and someone hits you, like, okay, but maybe they should have, been more aware. But you hit the wall, it slows you down in a hurry. And it's hard to expect. Even if someone hits the brakes, And that may have been what caused Tony to hit the wall, is he may have been getting on the brakes and it made his car unsettled.
Well, as we are seeing the lineup in the pits, so I can't think of a better time. Let's go ahead and hear a little bit more about the AOLL.
The AOLL began online racing in the mid-1990s, with Papyrus's NASCAR racing still going strong 27 years later on the iRacing platform. The TNT series races on Thursday night, running the ARCA Chevy cars for drivers looking to learn and have fun. The Cup Series races on Sunday nights, featuring league veterans and Class A licensed drivers. The Sportsman Division races on Wednesday nights, running the Gander Outdoor trucks with drivers from the Cup and TNT series. You can catch all of the AOLL racing action right here on Ghostfire Media.
As we see the race off of pit road here, Joshua Hanner loses the position to Joe Dinsmore, and honestly, it looks like he may have missed his pit stall, had to throw it in reverse slightly to get it into the right place. Luckily, he didn't blow it completely to where he had to go all the way around.
But hey, the guy I want to talk about right now is Justin Anderson, right? He's running in first because he pitted earlier. He pitted and then the caution came out because of Nick. I know that Justin and Nick have been talking a lot recently, and I'm wondering if there's some shenanigans going on there.
Are you thinking that Nick's arm may have itched a little?
I'm just wondering. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. What is it that Nick always likes to say? Controversy breeds cash. Whatever.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It's the Eric Bischoff thing.
He has so many different sayings that he likes to bring out. I'm gonna
Controversy creates cash.
Yes. And I'm going to go ahead and apologize to Nick Adams in advance to where we gave you the commentator's curse, sir. It happens. It's unfortunate, but it happens. But as I'm not
apologizing for it.
I will. I'm going to be the gentleman tonight. But as we are 1-2 green, it looks like Justin Anderson is choosing to stay on that low line tonight.
I'm not sure what's happening there. If we get to talk to him after the race, I am curious about that because I would have expected everyone to take the outside. But this will be fun. It's got kind of an unfamiliar position for both Greg Welland and Justin Anderson here, with Justin controlling the restart. Is Greg going to have anything for him? He's been dominating this race. I think on a long run, nobody can beat Greg right now.
I firmly agree with that. And again, I have to go with the restart strategy. With how long the straights are here, the longer you wait, the less of a draft these guys are going to be able to get off of you. I'm going to wait until the last second, just before the green is going to fly, to where I can still get my jump, but I'm not going to give them the entire straightaway to draft.
See, I considered that as, I didn't take that perspective. That's interesting. I think that's a good perspective to have on it. The way I was looking at it is I'm going to go early, because you get that, when you get going early, you're able to get throttled up faster than everyone else, and therefore, move through the gears faster, you get up to your top speed faster, and therefore you want to maximize that for as long a period of time as you have.
As Justin's off nearly immediately, gets himself an amazing run. That's not still on Joe. But gets a great run, gets himself up onto his line as Joe Dinsmore and Joshua Hanner swap. They're in the same positions that they should have been, but right now, Derek Schilling is right on the bumper of Joshua Hanner. Gets a little bit wider out of the turn. Joshua goes ahead, cuts a little bit of a nose off, but we are seeming to be single file through most of the pack right now.
Well, I think a lot of guys are probably realizing that gotta get this thing over with.
Well, they allotted 4 hours today
that's
for this.
good.
So,
But it is
we
also
are
Sunday night. It's a Sunday night. We've got work tomorrow morning, so I think everyone might just be like, all right, settle down for a little while, and there's plenty of time to race still. We haven't reached the halfway point yet.
no, we are only 30 laps deep. And right now, Greg Wellen and Justin Anderson, this top 3 are all within a half a second of one another, but Justin is getting the great runs out of the turns, and there has to be something said for the clean air with these cars.
But yeah, I mean, you're the leader. You should be faster in the corners than the guys behind you. But you lose the advantage of having a draft there. I mean, you get some effect from it, but it's not nearly what the guy behind you is getting. As we see Greg Wellen making a huge run here. He might be able to sneak under here.
No, I think he's going to wait just because it's the right move to go ahead, hold off, just settle in, let your car just do what you need to. And if I'm sitting in his position right now, I'm just going to wait and undercut him once we get to the next pit stop.
I don't think you have to, because honestly, we saw that Justin was struggling earlier on the long run, whereas Greg was thriving on it. So Greg might just have to wait here, and Justin Anderson might hand it over to him.
Well, there's that possibility, but all 3 of our front runners are sitting in the same chat. My guess is they're plotting to keep the one person that is not Steel Horse Racing, Joshua Hanner, at bay right now.
Well, look, if you're just looking at it from a team perspective, like, Justin Anderson or Joe Dinsmore should win this race from a team perspective because they're going to get the bonus points for the chase. But if I'm Greg Wellen, I don't want to just hand it over. I mean, you've been fast all night. Go out there and get your win, man.
As he's making the move right now, going into 3, gets a little squirrely, and that's going to slow up everyone behind him as Joe Dinsmore gets around the outside of Greg Wellen, as Joshua Hanner is right there on his bumper giving him a push. That's actually going to leave Joe Dinsmore a little bit vulnerable to Greg Wellen going into 1. As Greg gets himself back up there, should be clear coming out of the turn. As Joe thinks about trying to cut under, but looks like he may have had a little bit of a slide there. And Greg is setting his sights back on Justin Anderson, who's about a half second clear of him.
Yeah, he's still within the draft, so this isn't hurting him too badly, but this is one situation where I wish we were driving Indy cars, because you have that big of a gap and you get a huge run, just be able to pass him on the straightaway.
Should. But that's also the advantage of having, proper downforce in your car. Unlike these, and also think about it, the weight jacker and
oh yeah.
push to pass and all those fancy things that they have.
But we're seeing Greg Wellen here making up ground. I mean, at the very least, it seems like in the draft, which he's faster than our leader, Justin Anderson. I mean, but it is in the draft, so we'll have to see whether or not that's what's actually the effect, or if he'll be able to get up there and get around it.
Well, we've seen the pace that he has already tonight. I'm going to actually jump back just a little bit as Andrew Burgess is looking very, very closely at his Canadian brother, Tim St. Jean. Just looking, hoping that maybe there's going to be a little bit of a mistake that he can take advantage of. But Tim is not one that you should wait too long for a mistake, because
right,
I guess
he doesn't make them.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, Tim is one of the cleanest drivers out here, not likely to make mistakes. Oh, Greg's trying it again.
We'll get ourselves back up there, and he is down below going into the backstretch, trying to get a little bit of a side draft as Joe Dinsmore. We're taking it 3 wide. Oh, he slots himself back in.
I promised it was not as dramatic from the camera angle that I had. That your camera angle, it definitely looked like Joe was there 3 wide. He was smartly hanging back, but hey, Joshua Hanner were taking advantage of Joe having to check up a little bit there.
Gets the pass done, gets himself into 3rd, but Greg Wellen is back in the lead as we start lap 36. These guys are going to be putting on a show tonight, it seems.
Now we're gonna find out. Is Justin going to run into the same issue he did last run? I mean, did he burn through his tires? Which, I mean, if he's burning through his tires in less than a fuel run, then he's gonna have a long night. He's gonna run out of tires.
Well, and that's something that we haven't really got to see tonight because there haven't really been long enough runs for the tires to really fall off, because they aren't going to actually really become unmanageable until we hit lap 15.
Well, that's with how you're driving it. I mean, now we saw Justin, he hit the wall earlier in the previous run, and that may have been what caused his issues. Or it may not have been. He may have hit the wall because he was having issues with his tires. So, obviously, we have no way of knowing, but we'll find out this run if he changed something. Perhaps it was never a problem to begin with.
Well, and again, we talked about it at the top of the broadcast. It's hot out there.
Yeah.
With these cars running on the track, it's only making it worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, they're also laying down rubber, which, on a cooler track, you want rubber laid down. It makes the track nice and grippy. But on a hotter track with hot tires, that rubber is going to make it slippery out there. You're going to, potentially you came out there and you ran the practice and the setup felt really tight. It may be feeling really loose for you right now, depending on how the track's rubbering up right now.
Well, as Justin Anderson and Joshua Hanner are neck and neck, I'm going to make a quick jump to the back as Ross Gage is currently under massive pressure from Ed Springer. He backs off a little bit, but if we go just a few car lengths back, Brandon Bernhardt is fighting it out with William Klingbill, and these two both solidly into the chase. But again, 2 drivers that we don't normally get to talk about that are just absolutely fantastic as Brandon gets around William. But now, due to that side-by-side, Brian McFerrin's joining the party.
Right there. And I have to say, I mean, this is a little bit surprising. Brandon Bernhardt's struggling with this track a little bit tonight. Not running quite as well as we're used to seeing. And on a completely unrelated side note, for any admins that might be watching, if you guys wanted to add Indianapolis to the TNT schedule, I think it would be a great idea.
Well, and unfortunately, the schedule is set for the rest of this year, but I would be okay with that.
I mean, I'm just saying, I've seen schedule changes before, and I swear I'm not saying that because Brandon's running for it, but
I don't believe you.
And I say poorly. He's still running top 10, which I still haven't had a top 10 in the Cup Series. So poorly for him is better than my best.
So as we look at this, I want to go back to a replay and see how Joe Dinsmore actually got around Joshua Hanner. As I'm not exactly.
I think you can go further back.
I definitely do.
Because Hanner may have just, I don't know. He got a little loose.
Yeah, got a little bit loose, went down low. Oh, had a little bit of a tag there with Justin Anderson. All right, we're going back.
Oh, they came through it cleanly in the end.
I was going to say, we're going back a little farther. As Joe gave Hanner the push, and I think that's more just a little bit of a racing incident.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too.
That's a little bit rough because while it doesn't look like there's any damage on Hanner's car, that definitely is going to bend a little bit of the sheet metal there and make his run a little bit rougher.
You know who's loving this right now?
Joe Dinsmore.
No, Greg Wellen is loving it. He has a almost 3-second lead now.
We're going to go back to this pack battling for 7th as Brandon Bernhardt has Ross Gage to his outside, and Ed Springer ends up going a little bit wide there in the back, but Brandon Bernhardt is down below Ross Gage. Ross has that outside line. As long as he can hold it, he should be able to get a good run right here and just pull away, but no, Brandon gets the job done despite being on that lower line and not being able to carry as much speed. But this line, outside of our front runners, this little group is going to provide a lot of entertainment for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've been back and forth all night. It's been really fun to watch, and I think we're going to keep seeing it all night.
As Ross Gage gets a little bit squirrely coming out of turn 2, that's going to slow up that group as we start to see people looking to take advantage of it. They end up slotting back in line. But these guys, they all want to make sure that they can start trying to catch Tim St. Jean and get themselves back up as having a fighting chance for a top 5 tonight.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think everything's kind of open right now still, right? I mean, we've still got, if we can stay green, all sorts of strategies are, out there, and, we just passed the halfway point in the race, so, I mean, sky's the limit for some of these guys out here. I mean, I think a lot of these guys, I think you can see someone just nail the correct strategy, and this whole thing works out, the fairy tale story.
Well, and as we see Kevin Pearson trying to look around the outside of William Klingbill, but it's not there, and he runs the corner.
Justin Anderson is going into the pits. So is Justin Rodney.
All right, these guys are taking their first gamble, looking for an undercut. I have a feeling this is going to start seeing a lot.
I would think so too. We should be one stop from here, so solid call in this case. And I failed to see very much wrong with that call at all. Yeah, good call. But if I'm Greg Wellen, I'm staying out a little bit longer. He's got a 4-second lead. He's got a little bit of time to play around there. He wants to pit a little bit later.
Well, and I think personally, I'm of the mindset that what I'm going to end up doing here is these guys going in right now are going to be sitting ducks if we end up having a green-white checker, or now they're going to have to go in a little bit earlier than our front runner, who obviously has a speed advantage over these guys. There's no reason for him to go in.
Yeah, no, I think, right now, we've seen how fast he is, especially on a longer run. I mean, just go out, run your race for a little bit. The interval between him and Joe Dinsmore is tightening right now, though I'm not sure why that's happened. Maybe he's purposely slowing down a little bit. Maybe Joe's getting a little bit faster, but definitely that interval has shrunk, although that just grew a little bit again. So it's really back and forth at this point.
Well, and again, he's comfortably in the lead. And right now, Joe Dinsmore, Joshua Hanner, I have the feeling these guys are also just, let's settle in, see how long we can go. Obviously, neither of them are having major issues with their tires. The worst that they're going to have to deal with is traffic, as they are going to be dealing with people that technically they're lap traffic, but those fresh tires are going to make them significantly faster than them. And how is that going to throw their line off as they let it past?
I think what these guys right now are banking on is, the phrase often goes, that cautions breed cautions. Well, I would also say green flag pit stops breed cautions. So, I mean, as guys start pitting, you're raising the likelihood of a mistake happening somewhere, whether it's, getting on pit road, getting off pit road. So if you have decent pace, stay out for a little bit longer, we got lap times coming in here. This last lap, looks like Justin was about a second and a half faster than Greg Welland. So he's definitely going to eat into that lead, but then you would expect that, Greg pits a little bit later, he's going to have a faster pace than Justin.
As we see Kevin Pearson make the move around both Joe Dinsmore and Josh Hanner. And now these guys are going to have a car that they would hope they would be able to sniff the draft off of, but he is just gone.
Yeah, those fresh tires make a big difference. That was not the position. Kevin Pearson currently running in 14th, but that goes to show the speed differential you've got with fresh tires here.
Well, and that has to be making these guys sit and wonder, should I go head on in? Honestly, whichever of these two make that dive into the pits first is going to pass the other person.
I mean, we've seen Joe Dinsmore and Joshua Hanner be together the entire race. I mean, they've been right there at each other. I think one of them has to make the call and come on in the pit road. If it's Joe, Josh might come right behind him. But I don't know. I think we're going to see someone. Oh, Greg Welland is up. Our leader is done.
And that is going to just give him that much more of a cushion once everybody has made their cycle. And I think that our new leader of Joe Dinsmore, he's just waiting to see if Hanner blinks. And at this point, if I'm Joe, I've now got my lap lead. I think it's time to go ahead and dive in.
Perhaps, but I've also been a proponent of team splitting strategies, and you had Justin Anderson pit earlier. You had Greg Welland just pit. Maybe Joe stays out a little bit longer, and they just have a variety of strategies on the table, so that whatever strategy ends up being the winning one, they're going to come out. Steel Horse Racing's going to come out in favor.
Well, and it looks like at this point, Steel Horse Racing is going to come out the winner.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I think no matter what strategy happens, you're going to be in that position. But I do want to point out Justin Anderson is ahead of Greg Welland now because of that earlier pit, but not by enough. He currently has about a 3/4 of a second lead.
Yeah.
Over Greg Welland. Greg should overtake him very quickly. I mean, that's 5 lap pressure tires, and I think Joe's about to come in the pit.
Let's go ahead and see.
He at least came over the radio, so I'm presuming that is what he was saying.
Yes. Normally, the rule is within the league is you call out your pits. As Joe definitely is there, Joshua Hanner takes over our lead. He is going to get a lap lead as he crosses the yard of bricks. And right now, if I'm Josh Hanner, depending on how much fuel I have, I'm going to stay out because honestly, it's worth trying to not have to make that additional pit stop, because with 29 laps to go, we're figuring that's where the window is going to be tight.
Yeah, let me take a look here. He last pitted lap 26. And it's been all green flag since lap 26, right? I think so.
Correct.
I don't see how he can stretch it to make it on one next stop being the last one. I don't see how that's possible. But
he is diving in. He got his bonus point for a lap led, locks him up. I'm wondering if he managed to get it slowed down in time. But that is going to cycle through Brandon Bernhardt, who stays out. He is going to cycle through to be our leader.
You know that if Hanner was speeding up pit road there, the meme about closed circuit racing drivers and pit road will continue.
We deserve it. We do. I'm the first to admit it.
We've got William Queenville in as well, and Hanner is coming off the pit road now. But yeah, Brandon Bernhardt, followed by Timothy St. Jean, Brian McFerrin, so top three. But also want to point out Jason Swan, Kevin Haas. I think Jason's about to come in. Some guys that you don't normally see. I think Brandon's coming in as well.
Well, as we are, luckily, you're able to watch those radio messages come in. I'm not.
Well, I'm just communicating it to you and to our viewers.
I very much appreciate it, as these guys are going in, and that means as he comes across the line, Kevin Haas is going to have a lap led in this race. And again, one of those guys that just a generally consistent driver, someone we don't really get to talk about too much outside of just great racing in the mid-pack. It's good to see him actually up here and getting a lap led. But right now, Greg Welland's right on his rear.
Yeah.
So that one's not going to happen. But Brian McFerrin, actually somehow I missed this, but Brian McFerrin is actually currently our leader and looking like he's going into the pits right now.
Yeah, I mean, he was just losing time there and had to be stretching it on fuel. I imagine Kevin Haas is probably coming the next lap, because he is right there as well.
But again, the longer you can try to stretch these runs out.
Oh, Kevin Haas is actually in now, yeah. So, but no, you're right. I mean, stretch the run out. Who knows what'll happen?
And with these guys, we've been green flagged since lap 26, so we've got almost 30 in. And we're seeing, obviously, 27 laps is doable. So, for these guys, they were probably banking on the undercut here. As we see Greg Welland actually, looks like he tapped the wall going into 3.
Ooh. I'm looking at lap times right now. This last lap, Joe Dinsmore had the fastest lap on the track, followed closely by Josh Hanner. So those, just a few lap fresher tires make a difference, and they're going to continue to make a difference every single lap. And I think it's going to enable them to catch these guys, but what are you going to do once you catch them? Getting around them, you may burn through your advantage just trying to get around them.
Well, and that's exactly the thought process that has to be going through these guys' mind as I'm wondering if some of the guys that pitted earlier, like our Justin Anderson, who's in second place right now, he pitted very early in comparison.
And so did Justin Rodden running in third, very, very early. But I think, again, I mean, all of these guys should have to make one more stop anyways. I think at this point they're kind of hoping that they might be able to fit on the caution. Although really, actually here, this is a track where you want to pit before the caution. Like what happened with Justin Anderson earlier. If you can pit one lap before the caution comes out, that's awesome.
Well, and here's the big question. I'm running through lap times. Brandon Bernhardt, he made a 26-lap stint that last time around. So somebody, that is what I'm guessing was the absolute limit of a run on this track.
So that would put, I'm taking a look here, someone like Hanner, 26, that would put him at lap 77 if he did that. Joe Dinsmore would be about 76. So that would, this is a big track. You're not likely to make up, those kind of laps, that many laps at a track like this, but who knows? In the draft, you might be able to tuck up behind someone, be real gentle on the gas. I don't think so, but it's possible.
Well, and again, that's what we need to sit and figure out, as I wanted to jump back. The only real battle that we currently have on track right now is Tony Payne and Timothy St. Jean. Everybody else is spread out by more than a second, except for Brandon Bernhardt just got around Ed Springer, but he just blew past him, and that was the difference between new and old tires. But these two are on the same rough stint.
Yeah, Brandon had a 2.5 second per lap advantage over Ed there, so Ed didn't have much of a chance of holding off there.
No, but right now, Jason Swan and Brian McFerrin, the next cars back, they're running nearly identical lap times and running together.
So speaking of lap times, I'm looking here at the leaders again, and Greg Welland's still throwing down respectable times, but Joe Dinsmore and Josh Hanner are still in the 53s, whereas you've got Greg Welland with 54.07, Justin Anderson with 54.85, and Justin Rodden with 55.73. So,
well, as we actually come up here and see that Joe Dinsmore actually got around Justin Rodden, and there's Joshua Hanner right on him, and he should have the job done pretty much immediately here. They're coming out of turn 4. He gets it done, and now he's got to try to get back up to Joe Dinsmore.
Yeah, it's tempting to try to push and get up there quickly, but I think a veteran like Joshua Hanner is going to be patient, wait for the wait. Right now, I'm again looking at lap times here. He's a little bit faster than Joe this last lap. You would expect him to be a little bit faster because he does have, 1 lap fresher tires. It does make a difference if you're taking care of them. So, just be patient. Wait for it.
As we bring up the tower so everyone can actually see, Justin Anderson is about 0.8 of a second faster than Greg Welland, and Joe Dinsmore has about the same gap on Justin Anderson. And these guys, Joshua Hanner actually is the fastest man on track right now. These guys are not going to be behind for all that much longer, even though they have 9 seconds to make up to get up to Justin Anderson. Actually, 10 seconds. My math was bad.
Wait, what now? They're not 10 seconds behind Justin Anderson. Greg Welland's 10 seconds ahead.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is I'm looking at Greg Welland with his nearly 10-second gap, and look, this is a guy who has won Cup races, and I was just saying earlier I haven't got to 10, so I should be the last to give advice. But I think he should back it down a little bit. Like, there's no reason to burn through your equipment right now. You got a 10-second gap. Slow the pace down a little bit. You can let them close some of that gap a little bit. As long as you keep them, more than a second or so out of range, they shouldn't be able to catch a draft. I would back it down a little bit, slow the pace down a little bit.
Well, but right now, let's do a rear chase with Justin Anderson. Wow, I didn't recognize that he had that kind of damage on the outside of his car. But right there is Joe Dinsmore, and about the same distance back from Joe Dinsmore is Joshua Hanner. As, God, I need to stop going to people that are getting into battles as Justin tags the wall.
Well, I'm not sure if that one was on you, because he has tagged the wall before. Justin's asking just a little too much of his car tonight in a few different situations.
But there's Joe Dinsmore getting the job done in turn 1, and Joshua Hanner is right there in the same situation. And unfortunately, Justin giving that room to Joe Dinsmore allowed Joshua Hanner to also get himself back and into the position as they're going. Joshua Hanner is going to have the job done, most likely coming out of turn 4. It's not quite going to be yet. Well, he decided to chop a little bit of a nose off there, but he was clear.
Yeah, I actually took a look at it from mine, and it's a little tight, but
yeah,
it was
it probably
clear.
wasn't the smartest, but Justin's going ahead, diving into the pits. And again, I don't think any of these guys, as Joshua Hanner gets below Joe Dinsmore in the process, gets the job done, gets himself into second, but Joe is right on his bumper, giving no breathing space, and he is probably going to be up alongside him going into 3.
Yeah, I think Justin made the right call here because, and Greg Welland might be about to pit too. He's come over the radio, but we'll have to see this time by if he's, Greg Welland is coming in.
And I think these guys are realizing that there is not enough to make it all the way. So as Hanner is going into the pits, locks it up trying to slow down, but Joe Dinsmore takes over the lead of this race. And honestly, I think that is the right move from Joshua Hanner, is he's battling with Joe Dinsmore. He got the job done, proved that he was faster, and now comes time for the undercut.
This is where I think the undercut makes sense, because on a longer run, if you pit later, you can make up that time you lost from the undercut. But on a shorter run, that's going to be much more difficult to do. So I absolutely think this is the right call for Hanner. I also think this is the right call for Joe Dinsmore, though. I mean, go out there, mix it up from your teammates, lead some laps. Your tires are still relatively fresh. Like, just go out and run for a little bit and see what happens.
Well, and right now, his lap times are not looking terrible in comparison to the rest of the field, with the exception of a few people that pitted quite a few laps behind him.
Yeah, I think, I'm going to run through kind of our top 5 here right now. Again, we got some guys who aren't normally here.
Well,
we got Joe Dinsmore, of course.
Joshua Hanner comes out right behind Justin Anderson. So these guys are going to be battling for, essentially, this is a battle for position with these two.
Well, yeah, so I mean, and Justin did pit a lap before, and that's why Justin was able to get out ahead. But again, Hanner should have slightly fresher tires right now.
And most likely, given the incident that these two had earlier in the race, I guarantee there is no love between them. So Justin is not going to give an inch in this situation, but both of them have fresh tires, working with lap traffic. And Justin Anderson, I was thinking, if I'm in Justin's position, I would have slowed up a little bit so Josh Hanner had to deal with Andrew Burgess pushing him off his line, because that's going to help him get clear. But both of these guys
our leader's in the pits,
as Joe Dinsmore has made the trip in. But right now, Josh Hanner looks like he may be able to take advantage of Ross pushing Justin off of his line, but Ross reciprocates for Josh Hanner in the very next turn, as it looked like Josh may have ended up a little bit squirrely.
I want to take a second to talk about our leaders while they're up there. We got William Queenville, Timothy St. Jean once again up there. I've said before, Tim will run all strategy from just about everyone. I've seen him do it over and over again. We saw the TNT race at Atlanta where he stayed out forever.
He ran it dry.
Yeah, I mean, he will try different things, and mad respect for that. You know, he is much slower than the guys coming up. You know, Greg Wellen is 2 seconds per lap faster than him. But man, try something, see what happens.
Well, and for him, it's try it, hope for that caution. Unfortunately, everybody is far too spread out to where the closest battle we have right now is Joe Dinsmore and Justin Rodden. And these guys, Josh Hanner and Justin Anderson are duking it out on the backstretch. And, this is going to be juicy.
Yeah, spicy right here. I love seeing it.
But this is brilliant on Justin's part. Make Hanner run that low line. Make him burn up his tires to get rid of the advantage that he has by having 1 lap fresher of tires.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, these are 2 of the best guys in the series. I love seeing whenever they race together. It's awesome. And I mean, you can see, I mean, Hanner's having a tough time getting around him right now.
Well, and he just spent at least a lap cooking his tires, trying to get Justin on that low line, but Justin is that just skilled driver, knows exactly what he needs to do to defend his position, force Hanner onto the low line. We have a hot track, we have high speeds. If he can get his tires maybe 10 degrees warmer than his, as Hanner takes a little bit of evasive action to get around.
Well, he did that last lap as well, but
he's got the job done as Justin crosses him over. Oh, these guys are just racing brilliantly. I kind of wish that Justin could have made that one stick so we can keep this one going. But
I honestly, I want to focus on other people, but this has been thoroughly entertaining.
Well, right now, everybody's spread out by about a second with the exception of these 2. And again, this is a battle for, we'll call it bragging rights, for lack of a better term right now. But despite the fact that these guys are battling hard, they are still about 2 seconds faster than everyone in front of them, with the exception of Craig Weller.
And I was about to say, this is, if this race stays green flag, this is seeming like it's a race for second place right now, because Greg Wellen has a 14-second lead over Joshua Hanner right now, and you know, still some cars between them, but those guys should have to cut here in just a little bit.
Yeah, and there's no denying that, well, it turns out it was a 4-stopper tonight. With the exception of Timothy St. Jean, who has only been in twice, so he's somehow managed to make this a 3-stop.
Well, I think there were some guys who pit like under cautions, like not on, you know, the exact, you know, it was going to be a 3-stop race if you stopped exactly at the correct intervals. You stretched it out. But, you know, we had cautions come out. You're going to, you know, if you have a caution come out 2 laps before your fuel window, you're still going to come in and fuel up. I mean, there's no reason not to. So I think that's what we saw happen here. You know, just about everybody. You know, we saw, you know, Josh Hanner earlier. You got involved in that early accident, so that's where his extra stop came from.
But I'm going to come back on the field a little bit, as this is Jason Swan and Justin Rodden. Justin Rodden came in already, and these guys are just tearing through the field. And there's just nothing left in the tank, as we only have 9 left to go. I feel like there's going to be quite a... Brian McFerrin just jumped into the pits.
Yep, so we've got Joshua Hanner, Justin Anderson, Joe Dinsmore up to 4th, 5th, and 6th. You would expect those guys to be second, third, fourth, and this all cycles out. But again, who knows what'll happen?
Well, I have to take a look. So Timothy St. Jean has been running since lap 52.
Correct.
I'm wondering if he is doing the same thing that he did in the TNT at Atlanta and just hoping for that caution.
I mean, why not? I mean, stay out. I mean, what's it going to hurt? You know, I mean, now that comes. I don't know if anybody has any fuel or any tires left. If people have tires left, if the caution comes out now, they're coming to pit. If they don't have tires left, they're obviously going to stay out. So then that wouldn't work out for him at all.
But we look at Greg Wellen, guaranteed. He's used all of his tires. So has Hanner, so has Joe. Basically, with the exception of Tim, I honestly think that just about everybody, and William Klingbill, he may have taken it after he was involved in that incident at lap 11, but honestly, I would think he is just sitting there waiting.
Well, yeah, I'm going to amend my statement then, because I'm one more look at it. There's no way that anybody is going to pit the caution comes out, any of these leaders. So it being the case, there is no benefit for William Klingbill or Timothy St. Jean to stay out unless they think they could stretch it. I don't see how they could, but
right now, both of these guys, if they can manage to stretch it, Joshua Hanner is about 2 seconds a lap faster than them. And apparently Joe Dinsmore is just right there.
Yeah, well, you saw Joe pitted later, so this is where it's benefiting him. But, you know, I'm looking at lap times. William Klingbill and Timothy St. Jean are running much slower laps than they were earlier. And I don't think that's just due to tire wear. They might be trying to save. I mean, that would be William Klingbill's coming out.
Is in, so they were just biding their time, hoping for that caution.
Well, Timothy St. Jean's still out there, but that's what I'm going back to, though. If nobody had any more tire sets left, the caution wouldn't have helped them. They would have pitted, and then they would have gotten, you know, everyone else would have stayed out. So,
I think Joe
Densmore is a good idea, but
Joe Densmore benefited greatly from the battle that Justin Anderson and Joshua Hanner had, to where he just sat around, waited.
Well,
and
yeah,
Hanner burned through his tires trying to keep that position, as Tim St. Jean is now under pressure from Joe Dinsmore, and it's not long as we see him get right next to him going on to the front stretch, gets around, and now Tim St. Jean is going to be Joshua Hanner's problem.
Yeah, but you know, I think it could be the battle between Hanner and Justin Anderson, cause you know, probably good tires. How Joe was able, but I'll tell you what, man, Joe's been fast all night, and Joe did have 2 lap fresher tires than Hanner and 3 lap fresher tires than Justin. So, and we've seen that makes a difference. I think just the fact that Joe was already fast and was, you know, running on fresher tires, I think that's why he caught him, not because of, you know, burning through equipment.
Well, that's why the pass seems so easy at this point. To where Joshua Hanner is now about a second back now that he is clear of Tim St. Jean, who has to be thinking, can I make these last 4 laps on my fuel and not be a sitting duck, because he's about a second and a half slower than Justin Anderson, who's right behind him. Actually, no, about a second slower.
Yeah, I mean, he's still going to lose positions. I mean, at this point, he's trying to finish better than where he started. So, I mean, he's trying to get a top 10 out of this. I still don't see how he's going to have enough fuel to make it. The numbers just aren't there, but if he's been able to get the right kind of drafts, and I see him talking on the radio, so he might be about to come in.
Yeah, he was just banking on it. Yeah, it's too big of a track. It's like trying to save a lap's worth of fuel on Pocono. It's never going to happen no matter what you do.
Right. Yeah, and I think more than likely he overlooked the fact that everybody had probably used all their tires up, or tire sets. So his thinking was, caution comes out, everybody comes in pits with me, but they wouldn't have. So the strategy was probably never going to work out for him anyways. But hey, I still respect the man for trying it.
Oh yeah, there is no denying in my mind that, you know what? You're generally a mid-pack runner. You gotta try something crazy to get yourself up to the front. And that's exactly what he did tonight. And you know what? He's coming out with fresh tires. He is in 12th, where he's down a position from where he started.
I'm going to say he probably did not take tires there. I didn't look at his times, but if I were him, I would have just done a splash and go at this point.
That's exactly what he did. He was only in his pit stall for 6 seconds.
Yeah, at this point, doesn't matter. Just come in, take your fuel, run a few laps, and you're done.
And as we see our leader working through a bit of lap traffic right now, but getting ready to take the checkered flag as we see Tony Pandit blink out on us a little bit there.
Yeah, when you're the leader, you do not want to see that. And I think Greg is backing off purposely because he doesn't want anything to do with that.
Well, and when you've got nearly 15 seconds worth of a gap, you know what? Just relax, make sure you can bring the car home clean. And honestly, tonight was an absolute clinic from him.
Yeah, this has been absolutely unreal. There are no other words for it. I think this is probably the most dominant win I've seen since I've been broadcasting races for AOLL. It's just been. We knew that Greg Welp was great. I was not expecting this kind of an exceptional run from him tonight.
Well, and the biggest thing that we have to say is he is ready to cross the yard of bricks, take the checkered flag for the win. It's amazing how much easier it is to get those kind of gaps when you get to go green the whole night.
Yeah, obviously we had some trouble early with cautions, but man, what a finish we had with that green flag run. Got to see some long pit strategy work out there. Really fun race to call.
No, this was, all right, a lot cleaner than I was anticipating. But again, it's more just that it's not the lack of skill. It's just the fact that Indy is so much different than any other track on the schedule. It's so much faster, and yet it's not like Daytona or Talladega fast. You still have to get off of the throttle.
Yeah, it's a difficult oval, but saw the whole field do a great job tonight. And speaking of the whole field, how about we run through them?
I'm waiting for the results to, actually pop up because there we go. Now I've got him as we watch him put some skid marks on those bricks. Of course, I forget to do that as we see the teammate coming. All right, we get to see who has more horsepower.
They're kissing.
Hey, that's a little bit more than a kiss, but all right, our winner tonight was Greg Wellen. Second was Joe Dinsmore. Third, Joshua Hanner. Fourth, Justin Anderson. Fifth, Justin Rodden. Sixth, Kevin Pearson. Brandon Bernhardt's in seventh. Tony Pandit in eighth. Jason Swan in 10th.
All right, in 11th we have Kevin Haas. 12th, William Queenbill. 13th, Timothy St. Jean. 14th, Ed Springer. 15th is Ross Gage. 16th, Don Warnke. 17th, Andrew Burgess. 18th, Derek Schilling. 19th, Nick Adams. And rounding out our field, 20th, Mike Burgess.
All right, so let's go ahead and bring up our winner, as he's still having a lot of fun out there. Hey, Greg, this is Josh and Carl in the booth. You got a copy?
I gotcha.
Well, another absolute clinic from you, and I mean, how was it out there?
Yeah, when I match with a track, and I love the Cup car. I'm not such a big fan of the truck, but I love the Cup car, and I love this track, man. This is by far my favorite track out there. My best track is Michigan, but this one's my favorite. So I love working my tail off here.
So what you're telling me, are you calling your shot for next week?
As long as baseball doesn't interfere with it, I would. Yeah, honestly, I've got that much confidence. I'm stupid fast there.
All right, so everyone hears it here first. That expect to talk to Greg Wellen first.
Don't worry,
so,
Blake will be back on the next short track for you guys.
So I have to ask you, Greg. I mean, again, congratulations, man! Crazy run. How were you so fast? I know you said this is your favorite track, but like, how did you pull away? By the end, I think you said it was like a 15-second gap almost. Like, what were you doing different? You think that just made you so fast? You don't have to give away your secrets.
I mean, Justin having some trouble definitely helped here. But as far as the long run and pitting, those are my two biggest advantages. So you have to change how you drive here. So the first half of the run, you want to carry speed through the corners. Then a little bit past halfway, you want to slow down a little bit more on entry, and then just floor it off the corners and just drive it off. And you got so much speed coming down the straightaways. That's where I would get a lot of my time. Plus, I practiced. I was able to go really deep on entry into pit road. I knew exactly where I could stop. And then I hustled the car on pit exit. I mean, there maybe would be one or two guys that were going as fast as I was there. So that's honestly my secret.
So you were talking about, and we've seen it before, where how good you are on long runs. Were you concerned at all? Early on, we had quite a few cautions. Were you concerned that this was going to be nonstop cautions and you're just going to have to keep restarting over and over?
Yeah, that's why I stayed out that first yellow at 11 laps. I was like, man, this is just going to go yellow. I want to keep a clean car and save my faster pair till the end. And, fortunately, everybody straightened it out. We got a nice long green flag run. But, yeah, I was nervous. It was going to be a caution fest. This place tends to be that.
I'll be honest. In practice on Thursday, ran the setup. The setup was tight, but it was also a significantly cooler track. And I was anticipating seeing a lot of people have trouble with the walls coming out of the turns. And luckily, apparently, the weather was in everyone's favor to loosen it up a little bit and make it to where we didn't see those massive hits.
For sure. It was loose through 1 and 2. It was free to loose. And then in 3 and 4, especially 3, you really had to hit the line perfect, the speed perfect, the brake points perfect. It was tight through 3 and 4. But I mean, that's where I learned, okay, if I get good at this, if I get my precision down here, then this is where I'll be able to pull away on a long run. So I think 3 and 4 was my biggest advantage, especially because at the middle part of a run, Justin made me look silly through 1 and 2. He was so fast. But the precision in 3 and 4 was really what I had to get down. I mean, this track and this car combo, it doesn't put on the best racing, but it's kind of like F1's Monaco, where there's not a lot of racing and passing in side-by-side. It's more about who can put together the best strategy, the best precision, not get held up by slower traffic. And I think that's what makes this race so special.
If you rewatch the broadcast, some people still made it to where we were going 3 wide deep into runs. It was actually kind of brilliant. Once we hit the last pit cycle, everyone ended up spread out, but there was still some brilliant racing throughout the night.
Yeah, I got a kick out of it. Me and Justin were racing for the lead, putting on a heck of a show, and Dinsmore was coming up the inside, and I don't know if you guys could hear it, but Hanner's telling him, he's all, do it. we were just trying to put on a good show for you guys, but it was pretty funny. I got a good kick out of it.
We apparently the camera angle that Carl had did not see it as looking like you guys were going to go 3 wide. Oh, I saw it.
Well, I mean, that's not Dinsmore's style. Like, he's going to be smooth. He's going to save tires. In fact, what he did on that first run after he got involved in that wreck and didn't change his tires and still was in third after that first run was absolutely amazing. And I haven't talked to him yet to see what happened the rest of the race. I thought he was going to be a major factor. I thought he was going to be better than me.
I mean, he ended up in second, but the other 2 names that you named there, really, those 3 were battling it out all night. It was brilliant to watch for us as you were boring and just ran away.
Sorry about that, but I love this place. But yeah, those 3 guys are race car drivers, and I'm glad they put on a show for you. You know they're gonna, especially at the end of a race, so that's good to hear.
Well, hey, great run from you tonight. Really enjoyed watching you put on a show out there and put on a clinic and just guess show everybody how to drive this course. So great job, and we'll based on what you were saying, I guess we'll get to talk to you next week.
Hope so.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Yep, thank you guys. Heck of a broadcast by you guys, and as always, I got to thank the Inland Empire Redbirds. I know they're watching, and then also Zoe's Place. Give them a shout out as always. All right, enjoy your night, guys.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, time to bring up Mr. Dinsmore. Hey, Joe, this is Josh and Carl in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, I got a copy. How's it going, guys?
Not as great as your night.
Yeah, I had a pretty damn good night tonight, I think. So Justin slapped the wall, and it did slow him down.
Yeah,
so we managed to take advantage of that. Unfortunately,
we unfortunately saw that a few too many times tonight, and I blame the commentator's curse. It was in full effect tonight.
You guys were calling out on him, and then he just, man. Wait till the next time I talk to him about that.
Yeah, we'll just never cover him again.
Yeah. We'll stay away from Nick as well, because we were saying some nice things about him, and then his race turned out bad. But yeah, Joe, getting to talk to you twice in one weekend, that's really fun. Great run from you tonight. We saw you and your teammate Justin Anderson and Hanner throughout the race putting on a heck of a battle, and you guys were going back and forth on pit strategy. What was it like racing with those guys out there?
It was a lot of fun. Early on when we were like really close together and racing with Greg, Josh, Justin, I was really tempted to put it in 3 wide because I really had a hell of a run there, and Hanner was kind of goating me on, trying to do it, and I'm like, I backed off. So, and that's what caused me to have Hanner get by me too, because I let off and the car did something real weird when between the 2 of them side by side in front of me. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'll tell you, it was a challenging track tonight. I don't know if Greg went over that or not, but the corners were all different. Like none of them were like, one was loose, one was pushy. The other one, if you didn't land the line just right, you were gonna slap the wall. It was a fun challenge. Being able to ride on that, steer the car a little bit with the throttle quite a bit. I don't know if you noticed that at all in the broadcast, how folks were coming out of the corners almost sideways, but controlling it. So that was a lot of fun too.
Those are my favorite kind of races to run myself. But no, we definitely got to see quite a few people to where you were thinking they were getting a little squirrely, but it actually ended up being just absolutely fast.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. If you didn't let it pull up towards the wall, though, you scrubbed too much speed. So
So Joe, I have to ask you. You know, this was a custom setup you guys did for tonight. Did it perform the way you guys expected it to or wanted it to tonight, or were some things different?
So it was a lot hotter than when we at least took it out of the track. The track temp was probably 15 degrees warmer. So it did lead into a little bit more of a pushy setup, but it did exactly what we wanted to do. It handled better than the iRacing fixed setup. It was racier than the iRacing fixed setup. So, kudos to Edwards Garage for, putting that together for us so quickly and letting us run it. And, yeah, I think it came out the way we wanted it to. I'll have to talk to the other admins and get a sync with them to see what they felt, if it felt the same. I mean, but yeah, I think all in all, I think the racing. I mean, how was the racing, throughout the field? I mean, I couldn't tell other than the packs that I was in.
Well, I mean, it was on the long run. I mean, it was typical Indy to a degree. I mean, you kind of got stretched out a little bit. I think you can't really avoid that at Indy. But
no.
I mean, when people were racing, I mean, I saw people able to make really good moves, and people were making it work on the outside, which doesn't always happen here. So I thought it looked great. I mean, what did you think, Josh?
Honestly, it took a lot longer for us to reach that kind of standard Indy, just everybody's about a second to a second and a half separated.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really until we hit that last pit cycle that everyone was so spaced out that it just reached the point of being a little mundane. But at the same time, you guys actually ended up giving us such a good show because you guys were close, had just varying pit strategies. So between you, Justin, Hanner, it was great throughout.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah, I think everybody pit strategy was a little different with their tires. I mean, I really think I'm not 100% sure. Hanner disconnected, but I think he must have only taken 2 tires, maybe. Same thing with Justin, because how quickly I caught them at the end was kind of surprised me.
Well, based on their pit times, I would have expected them to take him 4. But I mean, you did have fresher tires than they did. Your tires were 2 laps fresher than Hanner's and 3 laps fresher than Justin's, and we saw throughout the night, just a few laps making a huge difference on lap times.
Awesome. So I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it just really was
about
the tire temperature. Because, again, when you're talking, when at race start, it was 117 degrees. And
117 degrees?
Yes.
Jeez.
So, I mean, we're talking just tire melting temperatures.
Yeah.
So, it just, again, that probably created more entertainment just because you couldn't kill your tires. You had to really kind of nurse them, and we saw you nursed them. You had the speed at the end when it really mattered.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would definitely, that's true. I mean, for folks that were letting off early, because believe it or not, the wreck early on, I don't want to carry on too much, I guess, but the wreck early on that I was in taught me a lot about how the used tires are going to go, because I didn't get fresh tires. My tires were worn over 15, almost 20% on the right front and 25 on the left sides because I was just scraping them. But I didn't want to lose another set of tires, so I was like, it's early enough. My teammates convinced me that it was a good call, and it definitely was. It didn't put me off of tire cycles. So I mean, I was coming up, and I finally made it up to that second place spot. I was I was running with those tires at like 60% left when I pit for finally. So they were, it taught me a lot about how that tire was going to run used up quite a bit.
No, it was a great run from you tonight. And again, we get to keep talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
So
I want to thank my teammates for the help tonight. I wouldn't have been able to finish the way I did without the help of my teammates helping me out with strategy.
So we're off to Michigan next week. What's your call?
Not 100% sure. I'm usually pretty decent at those, so I'll go with the top 5.
Modest. Right. I kind of like it.
I mean, hey, top 5 is a great run. I would kill for a top 5 in the Cup Series. Well, hey, Joe, it was great talking with you tonight. Might have you on again next week. And as always, have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, gentlemen, for doing this and the whole media group.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good night.
Yep, you too. All right, that's going to do it for us here tonight at Ghostfire Media. Make sure catch us tomorrow night for Fuel. We will be at USA International. I will be in the booth on the call with Larry Patrick. We'll get to watch Carl out there with 40 cars on a 3/4 mile track. Should be a blast.
Yeah, can't wait for that. And then Tuesday night, IBRL will be at Michigan. Should also be a blast. I love Michigan, and they're, if I'm not mistaken, they're leading up to their chase the next couple races.
They very much are, much like this. And Michigan is one of the few tracks that I've ever been to in real life, but I don't remember much of that trip. But
then Wednesday night, we have our Sportsman Series, AOLL, USA International. Thursday night, TNT at Martinsville, which I am very excited about. Friday, please tune in to the GFM podcast. Listen to us talk about the leagues we cover and listen to Nick complain about things. And Sunday, we're back here again. I think he says Michigan here, right?
Correct. So we've got a great week of racing, a lot of short tracks, and a very fast intermediate. So it's going to be a great week. But that's everything from us. I'm Josh Laston.
And I'm Carl Henderson.
Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Thank you for watching iRacing on the Ghostfire Media Network.